Happy March 1st, guys. The first of the month. Guess what that means? No, I know what you're thinking. I don't get a check. For various reasons, I do not qualify for free stuff. So, no, that's not what the first of the month means for me. It means that the previous month is over with, meaning that I can now take all the quantified numbers from the Gun Violence Archives database. This is the standard of all of the anti-gun people out there, including the White House, all of mainstream media, and many, many politicians and gun grabbers. I'm able to take their database and correct it. I would normally say errors were mistakes, but whenever you make errors consistently every single month in the same way, they cease to be mistakes at that point, and they're purposefully done. So I've taken it upon myself every single month this year in 2024, I will show you the discrepancies in the Gun Violence Archive so that you can debunk this myth whenever everybody else tells you that we have another record-breaking year of mass shootings. Oh, we've had 600 mass shootings. You can send them a video for every single month so they can see with their own eyes what I've done. Okay, it was a slower month. Now, granted, this is February, typically 2 to 3 days less than your average month. Still don't think that's why, because it looked like these numbers were about half of what they were in January. Maybe people were kind of crazy in January with the whole new year and all that kind of stuff. But it was definitely slower. So I took all of the Gun Violence Archives numbers in the month of February and broke them down. Let's start with that first one, February 4th. In Denver, Colorado. If we go look at these details over here, again, guys, this is classified as a mass shooting, just so you guys know. I know I've done some work on mass shootings and school shootings regarding the Gun Violence Archives database. This specifically is the mass shooting database. So this is a mass shooting that they are referencing. February 4th, 2024, Colorado, Denver. 6 people injured or killed. So if I take the information that they have supplied, which includes the incidents reports down here, it doesn't take me but a second to realize what happened, this was not your prototypical rampage shooting where the entire community is scared. This is isolated to a group of people who are arguing, gang-related potentially. You'll notice down to the 5th bullet point down, house party, block party, park party. These types of violence regarding firearms are so frequent that even the Gun Violence Archive has their own category of house party, block party, or park party, because they happen so much. Notice under the notes, escalated argument at party, multiple guns used, a little bit more detail, and again, the Gun Violence Archive does provide this information. Thank them for doing that. A shooting erupted during a late night party at a home in Denver when uninvited guests showed up, leaving 2 people dead and wounding 4 others. 26-year-old man and boy were killed. 3 adult males and 4 male whose age has yet to be determined were hospitalized, 1 remaining in critical condition. The shooting was reported Sunday at 1:23 a.m. Now, before I go any further, I want to explain a couple things to you. I'm making a point to break down the types of shootings that all of the people disseminating information out there are using as their main source. I'm breaking them down into subcategories for a very specific reason. Anyone who cites this Gun Violence Archive or this database in general using this type of methodology to determine a mass shooting is disingenuous, and they are not the least bit concerned with solving the quote problem. Why? Because if you're not willing to take a look at these shootings differently and separately as to how that person arose to that decision to take another person's life, you can't fix the problem. That means that either you have bought into the fake narrative that the gun is the problem and you're ignoring what the mind meant to do, or else you are purposely trying to deceive people by not looking for the root cause. I'm looking for the root cause. That's why I broke them down. The next one that we see here is actually going to be, and this is a sad one, this is domestic abuse. This is not a rampage killing as we would know it. This is not gang-related or confrontational. This is domestic. Family member says 6 people presumed dead in East Lansdowne home. 1 officer released from hospital. The next one we see, again, the Gun Violence Archive did the dirty work for me, so I didn't have to dig anymore. If you look down to the bottom under incident characteristics, the 3rd bullet down says gang involvement. Appreciate that. not a mass shooting. Now, let me explain real quick why I have these separated like this. Again, in order to get to the truth, there's a reason why people use the term mass shooting. It does strike fear in people's hearts if you're talking about a rampage killing. Why the difference and what is the difference? A rampage killing is simply somebody who is from a broken home, who was bullied more than likely and on psychotropic drugs, and they have become a sociopath over the years. Their environment in many cases does impact the direction they are heading in their life, the bad direction. And at some point, they are looking to amass the largest body count they can just to indiscriminately kill people. Sometimes there are people involved whom they know, like the, who was the kid in Newtown that shot his mother? Well, he shot his mother because she may have tried to stop him, but that was not, he didn't wake up that morning thinking, I'm going to kill my mother. I'm going to kill as many kids as I can at this school. So sometimes a person they know can get in their way, and they do become part of that, but that doesn't make it a domestic killing because that wasn't his intent. In other words, he didn't just kill his mother and put the gun down and go, I'm done. No, that was a speed bump to him. So that's why I characterize these like this. The rampage killing, the true rampage killing using the sociopath's mind and how they get there is far, far different than the other two types of mass shootings that these people are classifying in this same category. What I mean by that is if you look at a domestic shooting, just like what we just talked about, a person, in many cases, it's an escalated argument, usually between spouses, boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives, and a lot of times they end up taking the lives of the children. So there are different ways that domestic can be caught up in this, but the reason why it's not scary to the average person is because unless your family is experiencing some kind of upheaval itself, you are very unlikely to be involved in these types of murders. Because even if this happens next door to you, it's unlikely that the person who shot their family next to you is coming to your house to kill you too. In fact, in most cases, they kill themselves. So you're not in any real danger, even being their next door neighbor. That rampage killing, rather, is different because if they see you, they don't care who you are. They want you dead because they're trying to accumulate as many dead bodies as they possibly can. The other thing that makes those rampage killings a little bit more scary is because they are random and happen in random places that you wouldn't normally expect something like that. Again, that domestic shooting is probably happening in that person's house or yard. So as long as you don't find yourself in those places, you're less likely to get shot. Same goes for the confrontational type shooting. Confrontational type shootings, most of these are happening at, just like we saw, 1:53 a.m. in the morning. And they're usually happening in public places like on a street corner, tennis courts, basketball courts, parking lots, late at night where people are doing whatever they're doing late at night. You and I are most likely not going to see ourselves in these seedy parts of town in those hours of the night. So that type of shooting doesn't scare me because I'm never going to put myself there. It's the rampage killing where it's random, where these people just show up at a school, a church, a mall, a restaurant, and they're just like hell-bent on killing as many people as they can. That scares people. That's why these numbers are all piled into one bucket. Because by inflating that number, it looks like we all could be shot at any one moment, when that's actually not true. And I'll show you more in a second, but we had one of those shootings in January. One, not 77 or however many, 54 that they claim that we had in January. That's why I break these apart. Now, if you look at my chart here, I've got everything in blue is going to be a confrontational shooting. You notice I've got some very, very minimal notes in the column on the far right. Party, you see gang involvement. If I have it in quotes, that means that the Gun Violence Archive actually said that in their own description. Notice another one further up, that's a drive-by, gang-related shooting. The other one's at a nightclub, gang involvement. Here you see the Kansas City shooting. Guys, they're still calling the Kansas City shooting a mass shooting to scare you into thinking that that's what it is. Yes, this is a little scary to me because that means they are taking the gang activity from the street and bringing it into the public when there are massive gatherings of people. My advice to that is stay away from those massive gatherings of people. I mean, it's really that simple. The next one happened at a hotel, kind of a beef something went south there, probably a dope deal or prostitution. The next one, drive-by gang, then a fight. Let's go to the next page. Gang involvement. There was a party, a fight, fight. This one was kind of unusual at the very top. Child Protective Service workers were shot. This actually is a confrontational type shooting that I put. You could probably categorize this somewhat as domestic, but that's not really what it was, because it wasn't somebody shooting at members of their own family. So that's a gray area, but it's obviously not a mass shooting. This was not a random killing that took place at a Burger King or somewhere. Child Protective Services came to a home, I believe, to remove this child, and one of the parents shot at them. So that's why this happened. Again, as long as you're not having that kind of issue in your family, you're at 0% risk of that ever happening to you. Now, if you'll notice real quick, let's go back to the previous slide. That one in yellow, that is a domestic shooting right there. And come back to this page, 2 more domestic shootings. So we had a total of, looks like 23 confrontational shooting and 3 domestic shootings. Now, let's look at this real quick. This is my breakdown. Of course, here's my disclaimer or informational or whatever you want to call it. These charts represent the accurate breakdown by Legally Armed America of the broad inclusion by the Gun Violence Archive of all types of varying scenarios regarding mass shootings. These include a long list of various confrontational shootings that include gang-related, parties of all types, fights, etc., domestic shootings, and rampage killings where the crime was committed with the intent of murdering as many people as possible. All of these incidents were classified as a mass shooting by Gun Violence Archive. These numbers create a different type of feeling when you look at the actual visual of them. The pie chart more than anything, I believe. Notice you have 0 rampage killings. We had 0 actual, if you want to call them mass shootings, the type of shooting that the mainstream media tries to use to strike fear in the hearts of everyday Americans. You're in luck. There were 0 in February. Yes, that's right. There were 0 actual, if you want to call them using their term, mass shootings. There were 0 in the month of February. 12% of the shootings in the month of February nationwide were domestic, and 88% of the shootings nationwide were gang-related / confrontational. People fighting, people having beefs with one another, pulling out guns, and shooting at each other. Now, how do we compare to January? Look at these numbers. This is a pretty good drop. Again, I mentioned at the earlier part of the video that we had a massive drop. Could it be associated with February having a couple of less days in January? No, I don't think so. Look at this massive drop. We went from 50 confrontational / gang-related type shootings in January to only 23. And we had the same amount of domestic shootings and 0 rampage killings in the month of February. Why does this amount of detail matter? It matters because if you're going to put out numbers that you know other people are using in their own research and their own information that they are disseminating to the general public, and in many cases knowing that they're sending it out to millions of people, I think you owe it to everybody out there to be accurate. I've talked to Mark Bryant with the Gun Violence Archive. In fact, Mark has agreed to come on my program and let me interview him. And he's going to explain why he quantifies these numbers and why he does not break them down like I do. Personally, I would probably use his database if he corrected it. If he did what I did and broke down these subcategories and didn't give the mainstream media and the White House the big number that they're looking for to scream that we need more gun control and we need more anti-gun legislation, because that's how they use it. If the people weren't doing that, I would be okay with the type of information he was putting in there. But he's giving them what they want. He's giving them that big giant carrot instead of making them work for it. I'm having to work to put the truth out. They're not working to put the truth out because, number one, it is extra work, and number two, it does not meet the narrative that they are trying to set. I will be putting out this database and correcting it every single month for the year of 2024. Now, let me say this real quick. I was going to do the same, and I may still do. I'll still look at it and get an angle on it. But they had school shootings all thrown into the same category in another report. And it listed kids who simply had guns in their backpacks. No trigger was pulled, no gun was fired. Mark and I had a conversation last week, Mark from the Gun Violence Archive. And I'm proud to say that with you guys' help, we got Mark to change that heading now. It does not say school shootings anymore. It says school incidents. Now, that's still an implication that the media is going to run with. The media, you will probably see them use that same report and call it school shootings. But it doesn't say that on his website anymore. And I have to give the man credit, Mark I'm talking about, for making that change, because I'm nobody. And at our request, he made that change because it was deceitful looking. It made him look like he was purposely lying to mislead everybody. And again, give the steak, the rare steak, to the wolves out there in the mainstream media and in the White House. So kudos to him for doing that. We're not going to stop trying to debunk the myths regarding guns. Unfortunately, we don't have the power of the mainstream media, but I do believe that with the power of all of us sharing these types of videos and getting the truth out, and with me using these databases and showing the data instead of just sitting here talking about it. You share this video, people watch this video. If they don't want to believe what's in it, that's because they simply don't want to believe what's in it. Because I'm showing the proof. I'm showing them and giving them the information they need to know that this database is a lie. And if they choose to believe otherwise, there's not much else you can do. Again, guys, I appreciate you sharing the videos. That certainly gets my information out because I'm by no means mainstream media. I'm not going to stop doing this. Please like, subscribe, share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. A lot of you guys are emailing me or messaging me or commenting that you're having to resubscribe every single week. And that's pathetic that YouTube continues to do that. I don't know why they're playing those games. I don't know what they're trying to accomplish. Because whenever they unsubscribe you and you don't get to see the video, they make less money off the ads. Even when they demonetize my videos, they still run ads in them. I don't know how that's okay and how that can be, but they do. So when less people are watching the videos, they're making less money. They're only shooting themselves in the foot. But that shows you how much they hate us. They're willing to shoot themselves in the foot to silence the message that we're trying to send. So you guys help me get this message out if you don't mind. I would really appreciate that because I do believe this type of information is important to show people because it's not just talking heads saying these numbers are wrong. We're showing them where they're wrong.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
He's over!